And that's why his friends called him Jack Frost. What's going on, everybody? This is the Coverbandconfidential podcast. The podcasts are cover band musicians and band leaders to learn how to rock more and suck less. Thawing out in Atlanta, Georgia, I am Adam Johnson.
Starting to melt in Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
So we definitely, that storm blew through. And
it got us. Yeah.
We stayed cooped up over the weekend, and you know, it was fine. I mean, we almost made it a full week of kids' school without something being canceled, but you know.
We have done remote school, let's see, Thursday night, just on principle, I guess, and Friday, and then today. So, and tomorrow. It'll be tomorrow too. Because what happens, of course, when you live in a town that owns like a snowplow and can rent a second one, is that it warms up during the day, the roads all get wet, and then it freezes overnight, and then it's super treacherous in the morning. So that's our situation here. You know, I moved here from Utah. My wife moved here from Minnesota. We both really laughed the first time we saw people panicking in North Carolina about weather. But the reality is the conditions are bad out there because we came to really appreciate what our home states did to make it not that way.
You know, at least in this scenario, like everybody saw it coming. People made plans. Events got canceled. Like there was a lot of talk, you know, in our market about, oh, we're not doing it tonight. You know, everybody stay home, stay safe, like that kind of stuff. Because the thing that when it got really bad here last time, it was the fact that this freeze happened in the middle of the day and people weren't expecting it. And they were going about their business thinking like things are going to be like they are every other day, and they weren't.
Right.
So since all of that was headed off at the pass, minimal issues, I guess, were experienced. All's well that ends well, I suppose.
Yep.
So anything else going on, or is just you were cooped up at home teaching remote learning?
Pretty much cooped up at home teaching remote learning. I'll tell you, we went to, I think I've talked about my child who's 11. She's been participating with this youth theater program here in Greensboro called Stage Lights for a couple of years now. And boy, just her growth as a stage presence holder. And we've had her in private voice lessons for almost a year now. And that's like incredible. She can hit like Ariana Grande's highest notes in the whole movie. She's in the middle age for performance groups. And last night we went to see the oldest groups, which is all high school kids, doing Hadestown. Are you familiar with that show?
Yes. Yeah, I am.
I was not. I mean, obviously familiar with the myth, but good God. I mean, it's hard music. And these kids, by the time they're that age, a lot of them have been working with this theater company since they were 10. You know, it's like half of their life has been about training to this. So every one of them is just unbelievably talented. I went and shook the music director's hand at the end and had to say to him, aside from professional shows I've seen, this may have been the best sung show I've ever seen in my life. Like, it's hard music and these kids nailed it. And that show is super intense. I was not prepared. It was amazing. It was really, really good. Go see Hadestown, especially with really talented teenagers. Unbelievable.
Yeah, of all the plays you were going to mention, Hadestown was not going to be one of them on a list.
No. And the main kid, Orpheus, walks around with a guitar strapped to his back the whole time. And I was like, is he going to play that at some point? And he did. The kid pulled the guitar around and like played legit exactly, the part. I could hear what he was playing quoted in the track they were singing to later on. Like he was playing exactly the way it was recorded and singing to it as well. And I was like a 16-year-old mophead that was amazing. It was amazing. Yeah.
Well, you had kind of hinted at it, but you've seen Wicked then.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Oh my goodness. My family makes fun of me because I do somewhat experience films like separate from them. And I like literally that in the entire time, I'm just kind of like, it's like just right on the cusp of welling over.
Completely.
I love that musical so much. And man, they did a fantastic job.
Yeah. And again, I was cold on it. I had never seen it. I knew kind of it, but never didn't know the story. And it got me. It did.
We'd seen it at the Fox. Like I knew what I was, what I was getting.
Right.
But even still, there was, Amber and I have been talking about it ever since, really.
Yeah.
And I rented it thinking, no, maybe I want to watch again. And I'm totally kicking myself because I've wanted to pick it up and watch it again, like 5 times since then. So, they're gonna get my money again. I'm gonna end up buying this
100%.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Anyway.
child has seen it 5 times in the theater now. We went to they
Wow.
went to one of the I didn't attend, I was doing other stuff, but, there's a sing-along version of it that literally
Mhm.
has, like, bouncing ball, actually, it's a bouncing hat on the
Love it.
words. So, yes, and everybody was just belting along and screaming to it, but, the opening scene, no one loves the wicked,
No
what
one
is it?
mourns the wicked.
More Wicked, thank you. Where Ariana Grande is just in the stratosphere.
Oh, yeah.
And here's a character note I read about that. The thing about Glinda is when the higher she is in her register, the more she's lying,
I love that.
right? And so, yes, now my child can like all the way at the top that Ariana Grande, great big Kristen Chenowethy, massive note that she does in those. Yeah, I hear her walking around the house hitting that.
I mean,
You know,
at least it's good technique,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
if you're gonna hear things at that frequency, it's better to hear them, well executed.
yeah, and it is like full support, full. I mean, she's in falsetto, but it's like fully breathed. It's
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
it's very nice, very nice.
Fantastic. So we just gave Wicked a glowing review, but there are no glowing reviews for us this week. No reviews at all, actually, and
Oh,
that's okay. We got a really great one last week, and not every week can be the week that we get a great one.
I'm still riding last week's. It's fine.
So if you want to hear us say something, put a limerick in there or whatever. Just leave a review.
Yeah,
We'll say it. We're not above being, um, you know, bribed.
right.
I mean, it's basically that's what all of this
That's right. If you
is.
have a band from Nantucket, I want to hear a limerick about that.
Let's go. Let's go. Okay, steer away from that as fast as we possibly can. There were two things that have literally come up this week that I feel like need to be discussed. We'll do the
Mm,
newsy kind of one as a precursor to what will inevitably be the gear announcement orgy that is NAMM 2025.
right.
And I'll be there on the front lines giving you the freshest news on whatever platform is still legally available.
Yeah, reels, something.
Yeah, look for us on.
Yeah, on Vine.
Yes, for sure. But there've been a bunch of little announcements that I've been, into. There was Behringer announcing that they're releasing a version of the Lin drum for like $399. That was mind blowing. That was about a week ago. End of last week, there was teasing of the MXR Rockman drop, and I am incredibly excited to
Yeah,
try that out. Oh yeah, because I mean, it's not like the HX Stomp rig isn't small enough, but I could literally it could be one pedal that
true.
does all of my sounds. The only thing that it doesn't do is acoustic. And can I get around that? Is it clean enough for that I could, skate? I don't know.
Yeah, maybe.
I just want to know what it sounds like. I just want to plug into it and play the opening riff to Hysteria. And if it sounds like I'm going to buy one. That's all there is to it.
Okay.
I mean, this is a business expense, full stop.
It takes me back to the '80s, right? Like I needed to have a headphone out.
Right. So, I mean, but they had direct outs and there was a rack mount version of it also. But like that clean sound and that distorted sound it's basically every part of Hysteria and
Mhm.
Pyromania that
Yeah,
sounds awesome.
yeah,
Those guitar tones, it's all Rockman.
yeah.
So I can't wait to try that one out. But the latest one was released today, and we're recording this on Monday. QSC just threw their hat into the line array rig. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, the column line array rig.
Yes.
They've been in the regular line arrays for a while.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah, installation.
today they announced the K column, which is a 3,000-watt three-way column system. The unique kind of value prop is that it is a three-way system. So it's got crossovers and all of that, and it's got, I mean, all the stuff that you would expect from a column system.
That wattage is substantially higher than the mid-range for these things. I mean,
Yes.
my EV M50 is 1,000 watts,
Yep.
and,
My turbo sound is also 1,000 watts.
right, so, it's got some grunt.
Well, and that's the thing that I was just realizing because the band's full rig is all QSCs. We got a pair of KW 181s and a pair of K12s.
Yeah,
That's 4,000 watts all in. And
right,
this thing, if you got two of them for
and it's,
about the
like,
same pricing, honestly.
supremely trunkable.
Yeah. I have reached out to QSC about
Hmm.
getting a meeting. I did that before I knew that this was coming. But yeah, I mean, this is right in the wheelhouse of everybody who listens to this show. I will say it's pretty pricey. The retail looks like it's going to be 19.99, so $2,000 for a single column unit is not an insignificant amount of money.
Yeah, that's not that big a jump over the EVM50s.
Yeah,
For the increase in power and the way that it's going to separate out, it's got a real base to mid crossover, which was one of the pain points for me with it. I had to add a sub to the EVM50s to
yeah,
feel like I was not getting like muddied up mids. This should handle that out of the box and have more power than you could possibly imagine. So
and I mean, it looks super pristine,
yeah,
professional,
real
comes in
clean.
black and white. Like it is built for the kind of work we do.
Yep.
It's just supposed to, blend into wherever it is and sound amazing. So I will 100% report back on how that fares. If you can get a pair of those and like slam a room with a full band, that's a pretty interesting value prop. I
Yes.
would say,
Yep.
because I mean we're already doing that with 2,000 less watts that take up way more space.
Right.
So if it's anywhere in the ballpark, I would consider it. I'm just excited because this is, we're still over a full week out and we got companies dropping these like pretty significant big deal announcements. Now, we were talking about this a little bit before we hopped on, and the thing that jumped out at me is that it feels like QSC is kind of the last of the big speaker companies to dip their toe into this particular market.
The portable line array. Yeah.
The timing of it just seems odd to me that, because I mean, line arrays have been popular. I mean, the Bose L1 system was announced when, like pre 2010?
Something like that, 2010, 2011. Yeah. I mean, but given the things we've said about it, does it put a period on them? Is it like ending that era in a way that's definitive?
Right. And I guess that's really the question, the proof's in the pudding, but is this a thing that changes the way that these column array systems are perceived or are utilized?
Yeah.
Because in most cases it's one of them and it's being used to play background music. So is it doing that, but
Yeah.
like at some level that we're just not aware of, or is it doing more than that?
Yeah. There are plenty of band guys who are fully in on big boxes on sticks who would never dream of a line array, that maybe this would bring them around if it's got, the
That's
the the
fair.
the base separation and the power to do it.
Well, and QSC just brings a certain pedigree
True.
to
Yeah,
their
for sure.
product line.
Yep.
So I think they've kind of built this reputation of making high quality stuff that is reasonably priced, but
Mhm.
is 100% like professional. And so if it rips, I think yeah, they've got a home run on their hands. Because I mean, if I'm looking at a pile of QSC speakers and go, yeah, maybe I should get two more of those. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
I can't think of a better, endorsement of a product.
Yep.
I've got four of them. I still want it.
Yeah. Exactly.
That's a good barrier. It's a good litmus test of
Yeah.
whether it's going to be a success or not. I'm sure that by the time this comes out, there'll be 20 more pieces of gear to get into.
Yeah, they gotta heat you up to come visit their booths, right? That's the point.
Absolutely. And yeah, I've got some plans with some of the other creators that I'm staying with and setting up meetings with companies that are kind of that we use, reached out to Onstage and QSC and a couple of the prompter companies that are going to be out there. Like, yeah, there's some there for us
Good.
to, make sure that we have you guys have the best inside track on, relevant gear.
Yeah, and, frankly, our listenership has grown enough that we maybe have some credentials in those conversations. Last year we didn't, but maybe this year we do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like numbers are growing, so
Yeah,
numbers last year were pretty good and now they're better than they were the year before. So, we'll just have to see.
but, like, what
Um,
was it? 49% growth over the year, like, that's a
yeah,
statement.
yeah, bunch of people hopped on. So,
Yeah, yeah,
the more the merrier. And yeah, I know that you guys listen and consume other channels of content. So, we're going to be there with Henning and the guys from 60 Cycle Hum and Pedal Playground and Guitar Dads and all, like, yeah. So there's gonna be really fun opportunities to cross pollinate and talk through stuff. So
It's awesome.
a deluge of content is imminent.
Buckle
Go
up.
ahead and go ahead and grab your ponchos.
Incoming.
All right, so this week the main topic is something that we're going to be kind of delicate with, because the
Yeah.
story source is somebody within our community, but out of respect for them and the situation that they're in and just the messiness all around, we're going to try to make this as general as possible. And I think we can do that because it I feel like every person who has been in a band longer than a year or two has probably experienced something like this.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
To zoom out, the situation is something along the lines of there are 5 people in this group, and there's one particular person who was kind of pushing the band to do things a certain way, and the other 4 people weren't really on board with the way they wanted to go. And so after deliberating and such, they opted to move on without this person. And so the 4 remaining members l- told the other person that they were out,
And
which sucks.
that person, yeah, no, it sucks up and down. And it's even worse when that one person does not take it well.
Right. So, as messy as these things can be, the other side of the situation is, how do people process this kind of news? And some people choose to keep it, close to the vest and not
Mm,
discuss things, and
right.
just, kind of let the situation play out as it, is going to. And then there's other folks who decide that they are going to air the dirty laundry of this band on whatever channels they have. Now, there's an
Yeah.
added wrinkle to this story where the official Facebook group for this band is managed by that person. It's the only thing that they didn't have access to
Yeah.
when things went south. That person decided to, you know, basically lay claim to the name of the group, which is something we can get back to. Uh, but yeah, just basically airing his grievances, dirty laundry.
Well, but to be clear, in screeds, poorly spelled and highly capitalized, face flicked and upset
Yes.
across this band. And, you know, the people who are commenting, um, I assume he's curating those comments, or that the people who are like, God, this is really embarrassing, just are not commenting. But
Yes.
all the comments are like, oh my God, you're so aggrieved. How can the
Right.
world be so unfair to you? You know, you keep your head up. You're the good one. They're the bad ones.
Yes.
Um, and and meanwhile, you know, the name of this band that still has 4 people attached to it is going through the mud,
Yeah.
and it's tough.
Yeah.
That's tough.
And I had been in a band that went through a similar situation. It is a little bit more complicated than that, because there were people that were kind of vying for this person to be pushed out that were not like in the group, and they were not necessarily providing information in good faith. And so we didn't
Mm.
necessarily get the whole story. But anyway, uh, we had to let a drummer go, and it became this thing where they were talking about us, and we are doing gigs with other bands that these people were in, and like it was just, you know, childish stuff. But every single time I go onto a social media platform like Facebook and I see posts like this, it just makes my skin crawl, because
Yeah.
this kind of reaction is bad, just bad all around.
Bad. Bad. Bad.
So, we wanted to kind of use this as an opportunity to kind of jump off of that to kind of talk about these things in general, um, because there are some very important points to be made when either considering doing this because you feel aggrieved, or you preparing to have to do something where you anticipate the person might retaliate in this way.
And look, I think maybe most importantly, how do you set up your organization so that this is never ever in its future.
Yes. And that one's actually pretty cut and dry. You get it in writing.
Well, you get it in writing, you have enough conversations to make sure everybody's really aligned. I mean, fundamentally, the schism in this group is one guy, after how many years did we guess this band's been together? 13
14
years.
years.
One guy, the peak of his ambition is to play bar bands for $100 every weekend.
Yeah.
Every weekend.
Right.
He loves it. He wants to do it. $100 gigs for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
Cool. No problem there. But the other players have different ideas. They want to grow. They don't want to play as often, but they want to make more money. They want to target gigs that bill better. But this guy's like, oh, we can't do that. We're a bar band. This is what we are.
Yeah.
And that disagreement, that fundamental misalignment of intention is what gives rise to this. And if you look back at band drama, you and I are on the our cover bands subreddit. You're actually a moderator on that, and there are various other band related things that I'm on Reddit. But every like band explosion drama can be traced back to we never had a conversation to align our intentions.
Yeah.
So those of you listening with bands, by God, listen, look at whether you've had that conversation. If it's like we're all working under some assumption about how much we want to play or what kind of music we're going to do or what something, but we've never talked about it. Please talk about it.
Yeah.
Please talk about it.
Yeah. The thing about this that when I was, talking about getting in writing or whatever, is that, there are some fundamental things that make a band a band. And your sweat equity isn't always one of them.
Right.
And this person was there towards the, at the beginning of the band's trajectory, but another person owns the LLC. There was an option for everybody to chip in. They opted not to. So the LLC is not, doesn't belong to that person. That person doesn't have, any assets in it. At this point, you're looking at a situation where one person is saying, I am the band. And there is a band of people going, well, these are the dates that we've got. And you're not on them.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's the LLC paperwork and you're not on it. And here's, the all the merch that has the band's name and you don't possess any.
Yeah.
This guy who's saying, I'm the founder, I'm entitled to respect. In the business world, being a founder only means anything if you have equity.
Yeah.
If you were there at the beginning, it was all your idea, but you sold the whole thing, that gets you nothing.
Yeah.
So this is really similar. It seems like every step this band has made toward professionalism, our guy here has resisted, declined, avoided, felt like it wasn't necessary, and now he's learning.
Did it occur to you that this is all our fault, Dan?
It crossed my mind.
It could be. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm not saying it is.
We know that at least one member of this band is a regular participant in our content.
Yes. It is kind of interesting to to think about it that way, that, we were the ones who have sowed the seeds of discord. But again, we've had this conversation talking about friction in bands. And the fact of the matter is that if you are operating as a democracy or as close to a democracy as possible, and there's 4 people on one side and there's one person on the other, the majority's right.
Yeah. And part of a large part of the sense of the Facebook screeds that have been happening here have been like, I wanted to run it like a democracy, and I always did, but everyone knew I was the founder and the leader.
Yeah, except the business isn't under my name, and I don't own any assets. I mean, what do they say? Possession is 3/5 of the law or whatever.
Not 9/10 is what I heard, but yes, yeah, for sure. And listen, in my band, I'm the band leader, and there's no question about that. And I'm not a dictator. I listen to my people, and I want to be a benevolent despot. But at the end of the day, I'm the one who has invested the capital and the thought leadership and all of the time with the tracks and whatnot. Like, if somebody has an idea, I want to hear it because I don't have an exclusive on good ideas.
Yeah.
Sometimes I think I have an exclusive on bad ideas, but nobody would ever look at me and say like, oh, we're a democracy, you owe me something.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I picked you to be in this band. It was really clear that happened. And that's clearly not the case with this band. Clearly it's operated as a democracy long enough that it seems like 4 people can oust a 5th, regardless of his claim to primogenitorness.
Yeah.
And that's just how that is.
The talking about leadership and the thing that really seems to be sticking is that this person's upset because they realize that all of that sweat equity doesn't give them those things. And I know what that feels like. I know what it feels like to dedicate your life to a project only for it to, fall out from under you. But it's one
Sure.
thing for like the band to fail versus the band choosing to move on and leave you behind.
Right.
There's a line in a Ben Folds song. There's a song called "The Army." The line is, citing artistic differences, the band broke up in May and in June reformed without me, and they got a different name.
Mm.
If that's the case, then yeah, they just didn't want you.
And when the band you're in starts playing different tunes, I'll see you on the dark side of
Look
the
at
moon.
that, man.
There you go.
There's all kinds of stories like that. You've got Vinnie Vincent basically starting Slaughter, but because they were in the Vinnie Vincent invasion and everybody hated Vinnie Vincent. And so they just were
Mhm.
like, we'll just be our own band without that guy. And they
Yeah.
did. Plenty of examples of people that don't want to work with people who are hard to work with, deciding they can do that on their own. And clearly without all the negativity as well.
Yeah. Look, I mean, band drama, we all deal with band drama, right? I think, um, you know, I was in a great project that was then shut down because of COVID. And I was slower coming out of lockdown than almost everybody else. We have some respiratory stuff in my family. So I was not ready when a lot of people were. And I don't blame them at all for figuring out how to go gig without me. God bless. I do wish they'd answer my phone calls, but whatever, do your
Yeah.
thing. I could have gone on Facebook and had a whole thing about that. I owned the Facebook page.
Right.
I did not do that. I did not do that.
Yeah.
It's fine. Like I love those guys. I hope to play with them again someday, maybe, but that's not going to happen in this case. That is not
Well,
that bridge is
and
burned.
that's the thing is that you didn't do that because well, why didn't you? Tell us why you opted not to do that, though you had opportunity and motive.
Well, I don't know if I had motive. I wasn't. I don't know. I was a little sad. I wasn't mad.
Yeah.
Um, I really didn't do that though because what it would be saying to the world was a lot more about me than about them.
Ah, are you saying that when people post drama-filled things
Ugh,
on social media, it says more about them than it does the people they're talking about?
I am saying that. Yes.
Whoa,
Yeah.
that's wild.
Yeah. Yeah. That's shocking.
It's
Yes.
never occurred to me. But yes, every time I
Yeah.
see somebody trauma dumping, and it doesn't even have to be like music stuff, like anytime, there are ways of handling delicate or, tricky subjects on social media. And there's also ways to not handle it and,
Yeah.
do one at your own peril. Because I mean, ultimately, whatever good you think is going to come out of whatever this situation is, it's not going to help you in the long term
No.
because
No.
every person that is not in that band that plays in that scene, that seeing him do that, do you think they want him in their band?
Well, and if he reached out to me like, "Hey, I need a singer, Dan. I think you're my guy, but I'm seeing all this.
Yeah.
Like, am I gonna put myself in that? I don't think I'm gonna put myself in that.
Yeah.
I think it's worth looking at what the remaining four, the band, let's call them the band
Yeah.
because they are, have done to respond to this because their response was a note to him that was in very clear and straight and sort of lay legal, not really legal document, but as straight and clear as a non-legal document could be.
Yes, it was giving, per our previous discussion. It was like a summary of
Yeah. 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 We attempted to have an open dialogue with you. We decided to move on without you, terminating your position in the band. We have secured a legal team. We'll be protecting our brand. We expect you to stop posting as the band. He has not. Um, and we expect you not to contact buyers that we're currently contracted with. They said that to him privately, and he has posted it.
yeah, that's the other thing is that, like, one of the things that was kind of interesting and the the person in our group was like, "I kinda love that he opted to go this route because it lays
For
the whole
sure.
thing pretty straightforward." And again, I feel like it's very diplomatic and doesn't paint them in a bad light at all. But the diatribe that it was attached to that's another
Yeah,
thing.
his most recent post is like a timeline of the grievance, and he comes across as a is maniac too
Yeah,
strong a
I don't
word?
know.
It's he.
There's a lot of he's basically trying to make himself the victim in the whole situation, even though he's in charge of the whole
Yeah,
thing. Um,
yeah,
and it just like the first off, people who are fine don't post the same thing on like 12-hour increments.
right. Or indeed at all.
Yes, but definitely not repeatedly. Again, it's just like the story that you were telling by doing this kind of stuff in public is just it's a stink you cannot get off of you.
Right,
So,
right.
when you think about situations where a musician has done you dirty or a venue has screwed you over, and you've got whatever justifiable reasons in your mind of throwing it out there, I guarantee you would be better off just letting it, keeping it out of the public discourse.
Yeah.
Now, if somebody approaches you face to face and says, "What do you think about this thing?" Say whatever, information you feel like saying, but understand the consequences of that information getting around to other people.
100%. I don't know about markets like Atlanta, but the central part of North Carolina is a small market, and
Mhm.
we talk. Everybody talks. Everybody knows everybody. And if I complain about somebody to somebody else, it's going to get back to them. It's going to get, and if I intend that, then probably I'm the jerk.
Yeah.
Probably. The professional move is to not engage with any of that.
Mhm.
That's the professional move. And you got to overcome your hurt feelings and your whatever else might be going on with you, because you're not adding anything good to the discourse by venting your, what do I say, venting your spleen. It's very anatomical,
Yeah.
but you get the idea. Onto some bystander who just has to be scrolling through Facebook right now. I like this band on Facebook, and so now I'm seeing this whole like, oh my
Right.
god, I didn't
Yeah.
want any part of that. Like, whoa,
The
what a
casual
mess.
listener, what a nightmare.
Oh yeah, yeah,
But it is very much giving us, "Sir, this is a Wendy's?" You know?
right, right,
Nobody who saw you guys play a gig at a summer festival 2 summers ago
right.
wants to see what just got thrown out.
No,
It's just
no,
it's bad all the way down. So,
yeah.
the best way to handle these kinds of things is to do nothing, say nothing. Unless your name is being besmirched beyond, being called an SOB or a liar or whatever because this person feels slighted, don't react to it.
Listen, I don't know. I don't know about that. The best way to handle it is to have aligned the intentions of the band beforehand and never have gotten anywhere close to here. The second best way to handle it is when I was in a band where I was clear that the intentions were unaligned and I was trying to push the direction of the band in a way that the band leader didn't want, like, was to acknowledge that I was the problem, start to take responsibility for that, and take the right actions to settle that. Back down from my insistence that we play a broader brand of stuff than just traditional classic rock, or and start my own project to start exploring those things I was interested in, that didn't drag him into stuff he didn't care about.
Well, but that's the difference is that you saw that you were on the opposite end and you said, "Oh, this is a me problem."
Right. Yes.
You were emotionally aware of the scenario where you were able to make a diplomatic choice that
Right.
didn't put everybody else in a bad position.
Right. But once you're in that bad position, yeah, best thing to do is not add fire to it. This band has created an alternate Facebook page, band name band,
Mhm.
and they're posting event
Yeah,
posts. They're not commenting. They're not going into it. That's the right move.
and again, if there's one of you and 4 of them, and they've got all the gear and the name and the dates, they're the band.
Especially
So
one of them has the LLC.
yeah,
You're not the band.
yeah. It's just a bad situation all around, almost as bad as my camera dying every couple of minutes.
It's not good.
But where's the rest of this is just gonna be black. It'll be less for me to edit.
I'll try and be entertaining, visually entertaining.
Yes, by all means. So in conclusion, don't do that.
Don't do that.
Everybody will be better off if you just don't do that.
And if you do that, stop.
Yes. Agreed. I think that's it. I think that's all you have to say about
Nothing
it.
more to say. That's it.
I'm, coming from the guy who's currently sitting in a broom closet, I guess, currently. Is what
In the dark.
I'm giving. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
You should take it from me. All right, folks. Clearly technology is telling me that we don't need to be talking anymore.
We
So
need to
we're just
wrap
gonna
to. Yeah. Yeah.
thanks for the support. If you'd like to support the show, you can do these things, but I'll go ahead and call it for this week. Thanks again, everybody. In Atlanta, Georgia, I'm Adam Johnson.
In Greensboro, North Carolina, I'm Dan Ray.
You have been listening to the Coverbandconfidential podcast for the week of January 17th, 2025.